because it's the silly, stupid, fascinating, weird, wonderful. They're my people, and more often than not, they're the geeky people as well.
I mentioned Betamax. For anybody older, that's the old version of a video cassette. Video cassette is an old version of a DVD. A DVD is not set in the cloud. Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else, welcome to another episode of Faith and Geekery. My name is Mark, and this is
Becca.
Hello, welcome, Becca. How are you doing? We swapped over sides, yes, indeed. Welcome to our stream, welcome to our podcast, and welcome Lydia already. Welcome, folks,
Lydia.
And thank you for joining us in this if you can't see us, we're in this surrounded by pink bubbled kind of effect in our wallpaper. And in fact, I'm just going to tweak it slightly because we're overlapping on various bits and pieces. And welcome this Tuesday evening. And I think from the outset, I've got to admit that I'm kind of going for relaxed and a little bit unwound, or a little bit undone, really. I feel as if that's where my head is at the moment tonight. I'm not feeling kind of all there, but it is a pleasure to be with us, to be with you after Easter, and to be present with you. How are you doing, Becca?
Post break fog, where your brain is not quite caught up to what it is that it looks like to do some kind of high joy, what it looks like to do work. Have you had too much holiday? Is that what it is, Mark?
I really wish it was. I think it's the fact that one member of our family isn't sleeping very well still. There is cold and coughing in the household, so sleep is a little bit hard to grasp. And also the main computer today has gone down, and so I've been trying to frantically try and fix the computer with about 2 or 3 years worth of stuff on, which isn't backed up properly. So there is a little bit of stress and that kind of stuff. So I'm just trying to embrace.
If we're being intentional community together, then actually it's quite worth checking in. And one of my favourite ways to check in with people is to say, right now, which Mr. Man are you? So if you were a Mr. Man, Mark,
I'm just.
Well, Mark's thinking. You can also answer in chat. If you were a Mr. Man, who would you be today?
Or Little Miss,
Or Little Miss. But the Little Miss have less good names. They're less concise, a bit more vague, which is okay.
The other thing is that my children have a number of these, and so I think we have at least about 40 or 50, and so I'm racking my brains for a reasonable one to choose from.
You sound like Mr. Topsy-Turvy to me.
Yeah.
Where your hat's on upside down and you can't quite.
Well, I feel as if what I might be is in the process of being Mr. Messy into being Mr. Clean, because that is what we're trying to do in our house, which is another reason why we're a bit up and down and all over the place.
Yeah.
But
dirty, muddy puddle of what it is to have that sense of home and security when you start to really do the deep clean. It's a little bit therapeutic.
Yes, there is definite therapy there, and therapy is associated. Whether it's active or working or not, that's another thing. We have folks already. Lydia has put Mr. Clumsy, and Joy has put Mr. Completely Knackered. In fact, I didn't realise we could make them up. I think it's Mr. Trying to Keep It Together or Trying to Keep All the Ducks in a Row. I think is what I kind of...
Fake it to
Yes.
make it.
Yeah,
There
I
you
think it's along those lines. I think it's along those lines there. So, Becca, since we've last met, have you been up to anything geeky? And that is the same question for folks at home. Have you been up to anything geeky?
See, I know this question is coming every week. I've just finished binge watching. I think one of my geeky tendencies is to see something through. That was a lie. That doesn't come to hobbies. But when it comes to TV series, I'm currently binge watching two. I've just finished Ted Lasso, which just I hate to jump on a bandwagon and tell everyone to watch it. But I'm already trying to work out, how can I get that scene into something that I'm presenting? Because sometimes you watch a script and someone stands up and they're giving a motivational speech, and you're like, this speech is just so unmotivating, but everyone's response to it, because it's some Hollywood movie, is, oh yes, no, absolutely, this speech. Whereas Ted Lasso's speeches, some of them are a bit, I need to go away and think about this, but it's just, there's just something really beautiful. And Game of Thrones as well. I think season 6, season 7 of rewatching Game of Thrones, which I have binged watched. Just reading the conversation between Lydia and Joy. Joy does not have ducks; she has squirrels, and they all at Ravel. All at a rave. I don't know why I read Ravel.
And Lydia had put about
that threw me
and
off.
Lydia's ducks aren't in a row, but they've been arrested, which I quite like as well. So yes, and of course, happy. I forgot to mention Happy Easter to everyone as well. We are in the Easter season, and Easter has happened. Thank you. Did we get much chocolate? Do we do chocolate anymore?
I definitely bought chocolate. No, I did, and they're in the fridge. I'm rationing my Lindor Easter eggs, the little
but also,
mini ones.
Chocolate in a fridge or chocolate out on the side is a bit of a debate as well, isn't it?
It is. I'm happy to have that debate, but it is to do with self-discipline, and it melts slower if it starts off colder. So you just have to commit to bringing it up to the correct temperature for eating chocolate. Lydia ended up with too many Easter eggs due to poor attendance at events over Easter. Oh, I see. That's not consolation, where you just bought yourself an Easter egg each time you were disappointed that not enough people came, but you bought lots of Easter eggs for the attendance over Easter and have remained with the leftovers.
Whereas I feel as if I... Oh, go on.
Win-win.
I blew my children's mind by saying if you wait till just after Easter, they're a lot cheaper in the shops. They're just like...
Less selection.
That is true.
That's true. I put a lovely Easter wreath on my door, which I very much enjoyed.
Wow. Lydia, bless you. When you talk about having eggs left over, you really mean a lot of eggs left over. This is kind of like the whole Christmas incident all over again. So you bought 350 Easter eggs and have ended up with 50. That is
given away 300 Easter eggs. I mean, you know, that's fairly phenomenal in terms of a giveaway. Although, how many of them were to husband Mark? Not this Mark, your Mark.
Indeed. So, shall we dive into a little bit of the next factor of our evening?
Yes.
So, here comes geeky news. Again, my computer has struggled so much this week that we just got a screen grab, and so here is some geeky news. And it says TikTok to create rival Instagram app. Peter Higgs, physicist, dies at 94. That was just earlier on today. He's known for the Higgs boson particle accelerator. Spelling mistake there. And then there's also a couple of bits about kind of the entertainment stuff. Fallout, the series, coming sooner than expected. I think it's drops tomorrow. And Doctor Who, obviously since we last met, has got a world release as well. And it feels it's strange because Fallout and both Doctor Who are going for this kind of like drop at a certain time. Doctor Who is like globally dropping at midnight, whereas Fallout is kind of dropping, I think, America time, so it's available for us. Is it tomorrow at 2 a.m. in the morning or something like that, as in Thursday morning? So that's 2 days away, in fact. So it's just strange how we're dropping premieres nowadays, and rather than having standardized times. But oh, and more eggs conversation from Stephen. Didn't buy any eggs, but ended up winning 2 at the Beetle Drive. Yay! Not as disciplined as Becca though. Went through the lips and straight to the hips.
And I'm sure
Very
your
good,
lips,
Stephen.
your hip. Thank you for that sweet, sweet gift.
So geeky news.
Yeah, I mean I hadn't heard specifically of Peter Higgs until you say of the particle accelerator, and it reminded me of the other thing that I started watching yesterday, which is Three Body Problem.
Right.
You see that? Same people.
I haven't seen
Game
it.
of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
Basically, physics has gone wrong, and it's all messed up, and it's this long series of physicists dying brutal, horrible deaths,
that doesn't sound
and
so good.
trying to solve problems with science. So it's not quite The Martian in the sense of positive science stuff, but it was quite good if bleak. Joy Wadsworth says, did you read about the attempt to build a clock for the moon?
It sounds as if it should be a joke, but I feel as if it is like a particle, kind of atomic correct clock, I think. Unless there is going to be, or is there going to be a punchline in a sec? I just thought I'd mention these sort of things and kind of go broad and go wide. I find kind of TikTok trying to create a rival Instagram app. It's always one of these kind of social media things trying to chase each other's tails a bit, really. It just seems a bit strange.
I did have a conversation today at work about what is it about something like Instagram that just captures people's attention. So the moon having a clock and then it being a universal time is what Joy said about the moon clock.
I'm sure there's a pun there about universe and universal, but
maybe. But yeah, about because when something does go viral, it gets shared outside of the app. I do prefer Instagram, but I am a woman of a certain age, and I think maybe my children prefer TikTok, but it might be because I'm on Instagram.
Well, there is something about that, isn't there? About generations being on different platforms to their parents or to their children, to different generations, just to have a bit of difference and otherwise.
But then there's also something so lovely about when I get into a little real exchange with my eldest son, and it's just back and forth, and we're sharing things that are inspiring us and then liking each other's things that are inspiring us. And yes, he might have sent me 20 before I've noticed because I'm lost in my own little rabbit hole. But there is, finding those connections. So I'm not surprised that TikTok pursues something that is successful. I would be geekily interested in the data between who is where and who is using what and what the appeal is. I find TikTok has too long videos for me to get lost in. I just get bored if I don't like something, and then
I do take part in TikTok. I do find the algorithms a bit weird though, and a bit annoying in that I've kind of liked one video for something, and they've kind of gone, because you've liked this video, we're going to assume you like this one. I'm like, no, I liked it because of the decor. I didn't like it because of that person, or vice versa. So it's just a little bit strange, really. And finally, just the mention of those dropping kind of dates. I do feel that Russell T Davies dropping Doctor Who all at the same time across the entire world, I find is just a case of are they can they just not be bothered to kind of play around with various times, and otherwise just say, you know what, wherever you are in the country, in the world, it's going to drop at 12 midnight and have fun. And I think they're just going to be rather than trying to kind of drop it all kind of to America time or to this time or otherwise, there's just going for a global audience, quite literally. Again, circling around to the universal time thing, obviously it won't exactly be all at the same time because we'll all be hours different, but at least it will be a standardized time to our
how
day.
is it working? It's being released at a set
Midnight,
so say
wherever you are.
What's it being released on? A BBC iPlayer?
And
BBC?
Disney.
When did that little snippet happen?
What, Disney?
Doctor
Over
Who
the
and
last
Disney?
year. Yeah. It's been ticking over. I think I
This is the
I might
face
not
of
have mentioned
learning something new.
What's
Well,
Joy putting?
there you go. That was
The
unexpected.
moon's lower gravity particles vibrate at a different speed. That is very clever as well. That's Joy just explaining a bit more of the universal time thing. That is fantastic.
Hang on, I need to read that again. Our time on Earth is governed by oscillation of a particle, but because the moon has lower gravity, the particles vibrate at a different speed.
It's all
Why
relative.
would that affect time, though?
By the atomic, the way that we have at Greenwich, it's an atomic clock, and so therefore it's the most stable. Well, I'm saying this as if I'm a scientist. I have no idea. Please correct me. I think it's the breakdown of the atoms, is it, in a radioactive piece, and they are really clearly. It's very accurate, and therefore I think if you had it with a lesser gravity on it, it will be even more accurate, I believe. But correct me, folks, please do.
Interesting.
Yes. Shall we move on from geeky news before
Just a quick question. Would we then would we then use one clock and it's all at the same time? It just depends what the moon's doing, or would we still have different time zones, but the clock would be on the moon so that the oscillation would be more stable?
Say that again.
That's the question. So would we still have different time zones accounting for daylight hours, nighttime hours, all the rest of it? They're not talking about having one time, just a clock on the moon so the oscillation is stable.
I think there would be more accurate measure, and then just as we kind of divide up, we would do the usual dividing up, but rather than the standardized being GMT, because we invented it first, sort of thing, it will be more accurate.
I love GMT
calculation. And so I do find out I follow Kate Lister on TikTok actually, and she talked about how the French decided to change time and have it as a metric system of 10 hours in the day and 100 minutes. And they managed to change the whole calendar as well, though. This was like 300 or 400 years ago. Or is it when Napoleon came along, he was like, no, stuff that. We're going to change it back again. Time. But yeah, it was really weird, really strange. Anyway. Shall we move on? We haven't got any guests tonight. We haven't just been kind of trying to pad out time. We are just chatting and chilling this evening. This is us. Absolutely. And I think we don't even have a quiz tonight either. However,
sort of do.
Would you like to lead this bit, Becca?
Yes. Okay. So if you are watching, then please have a look in the comment section, and I'm going to post you a link. Are you ready? Now, we have checked out. So that is going to Facebook, YouTube, and Switch. So if you are watching, Twitch.
I thought you said Switch.
Nintendo Switch. Not if you have got a Nintendo Switch, you will not find the link on it. It is on Twitch. So if you can click the link, and it'll take you to a list of 40 questions, which I'm going to run through super quickly. So keep the sound on in the background, but go to the link, and we're going to just see where you sit on somebody's measure of what it is to be a geek. So I'm going to read the questions. It's either yes or no. If you don't know what the question even means, then the answer is probably no. Don't think about it too much. And then you can click the result at the end, and we'll have a little a little feedback. If you are watching or listening after the fact, not live, then please do share your answers in Discord, and the link for that will be do you like Star Trek? Don't overthink it, Lydia.
So are
Lydia's
you reading this one to
just
me, or am I doing my own?
So I am going to read the questions out. You can click the answers, yes or no, at your own pace. I will read them out for the sake of those listening on podcast. So question number 1, have you ever been called a geek or a nerd? Number 2, have you ever played Warhammer? Number 3, do you know how to program a calculator? Number 4, do you often correct people on spelling or grammar?
Never.
Have you ever solved a Rubik's Cube?
Only using an app.
Do you enjoy jigsaw puzzles?
No.
7, do you know the difference between ROM and RAM?
Yes.
8, have you ever been a member of a chess club?
Yes.
9, are you a member of any fan clubs?
I used
10,
to be.
were you in the clever class for maths at school?
Once upon a time.
11, have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons? 12, do you like Star Trek? 13, do you use computers on a daily basis outside of work? 14, have you ever won a spelling or maths competition? 15, do you visit museums of your own free will? 16, do you ever go to a friend's house just to play Trivial Pursuit? That's very specific. You can broaden that to board games, I suppose.
Oh, can
17,
you? Oh, I'll have to go back for that.
have you ever worn a costume, Mark, just for fun?
Yes.
18, have you ever been to the cinema on your own?
Yes.
19, would you turn down a party invite if you were near the end of a good book?
No.
20, have you read a comic after the age of 14? 21, have you ever fantasized about working for Microsoft?
That's a really weird one. No.
22, do you believe in the Force? 23, do you know what an ERP system is? ERP. Clearly Becca doesn't. 24, have you ever watched anything on the Sci-Fi Channel? 25, do you own a Slinky? What? 26, do you own more than one kind of dictionary? 27, do you like number puzzles? 28, have you ever considered trying out for Mensa? 29, are you already a member of Mensa? 30, do you wear a bum bag when you are on holiday? 31, do you wear a bum bag at any other time? 32, have you ever collected anything? 33, could you write a basic computer program? 34, have you ever designed a robot? Yes. 35, have you ever attempted to build a robot? Yes. 36, do you have more than 2 email addresses?
Of course.
37, do you know the value of pi beyond 3.14? 38, have you ever worked in a geeky job?
Yes.
39, can you read Roman numerals? And 40, have you ever been friends with someone on the internet?
So already Lydia has put 55%, and Joy has also said that she also has 55%. I've got to say I got as high as 60%, but I didn't click the Trivial Pursuit one back to general games. So
okay.
So I could have 61.
Could have gone either way. But it's interesting that summary there. So the summary that Lydia got is you are 55% geeky, not bad. Maybe you spend a little too much time with your computer, but at least you have friends. You have friends, right?
That's the exact same spiel for 60% as well.
Okay, interesting. Stephen Jones also 55%, but Stephen identifies more of a nerd than a geek. There we go. Brandon's got 65%. I've not done it. I will do it, and I'll post my thing in Discord later. Stephen,
remind people about Discord.
Discord. We'll post the link at the end so that it's at the end of chat. Discord is a chat platform. If you don't already know, or you're watching and you're new, hello, welcome. It's lovely to have you, so to speak. Where we have contact for the rest of the week, where we might share what we're up to in our own geeky little universes. We do not define what it is to be a geek. If you self-identify as a geek or indeed as a nerd, Stephen, then you are incredibly welcome. And it's just where we sit as our community, and we find that Discord is a really useful tool for doing that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So
but it's interesting. I wonder if Stephen could say, well, as he's kicked us off with it, what do you think the difference is, Stephen Jones, between a nerd and a geek? Anyone else is also welcome to answer that question while we're on terminology and we've just found our percentage of geekiness. What is the difference for you? Why would it matter whether you're called a nerd or a geek?
It's something that we keep on coming back to, do we?
We do.
I definitely self-identify as a geek more than a nerd, and I think I like to have fun with stuff, and I like to chat about stuff, and I like the community around stuff, but I don't always have all the right answers. As I've mentioned before, I don't have all my ducks in the right row, or ducks at all. So yeah, I kind of like the community element of it, and I like being able to chat about stuff and kind of banter off people, and like the rapport about stuff. And I think that's where a geek is much more of a community thing, rather than nerd might be more in isolation, not to give any answers or cheat.
Yeah, that's probably where I like the fact that I can find my people by bouncing and being really enthusiastic about something, and kind of finding a similar level of interest, passion, brief obsession, which is I usually jump around different ones. Joy says, I think a geek is more likely to be a Trekkie, which incidentally singles you out as a geeky person. The fact that you know it is a Trekkie. Is it a Trekkie or a Trekker? And Joy is more Hitchhiker's Guide, which does have a little bit more. It's a little bit more humour, isn't it? A little bit more tongue-in-cheek recognition that they are geeky, whereas science fiction is Star Trek is that kind of almost purist science fiction.
Stephen has also put up, Stephen, I was one of the original nerds of the 80s, complete with thick glasses, calculator and pocket protector, and I'm quite into computers. When the discussion turns to Doctor Who and comics, a lot of it goes over my head.
Interesting. So another question for Stephen, but for anyone else, is that what is the passion that you bring to it? What is the interest? Geek Gallery, Lydia, my lovely friend, we have moved to the end of Faith and Geekery when we remember to do it. So ask that question again, because if at 8:55 it looks like Mark and I are still nattering on about something, then please just say Geek Gallery ! And then we'll capture it.
But I will mention though that the Geeks Gallery this week is pretty much only my stuff, because no one over the Easter holidays has actually shared anything. So it is just my pictures. But that is a reminder that through the Discord there is the Geeky Gallery bit where you can upload stuff, and that's what we kind of pull to use during this kind of episode. So so that's where it usually is.
Of being interested in your life. And being excited about ours and what we're up to, and
yeah,
that's great.
lighting is going all over the place.
I know, you've suddenly gone slightly
Orange.
jaundiced, Mark. Yeah.
That won't be the first time.
The
busy
stuff
trying
from
to-
before Easter, as we forgot the Geeky Gallery, so we did miss one. So there might be stuff that we haven't used in Geeky Gallery.
One moment.
We'll pick that up. Worry not, Lydia. Oh, Mark's got a thinking face on.
I'm just trying to work out, because
that involves Mark's 40-year-old face scrunching up into a frowning position as he thinks and contemplates the inner workings of StreamYard, on which this platform is recorded.
I'm trying to work out when it was. So it would be the 19th. So actually we do have those because I uploaded them onto
There we go.
here. So
Lydia,
we will come back to
you
that.
are a marvel of a human being.
Thank you.
This is why we keep people who are on the ball and paying attention, invested in the community. Thank you very much.
So we'll come on to that in a little bit. And I think it's time to kind of talk about kind of the putting the faith into geekery, because I think we've often talked about the geekery into faith and otherwise. And I think the whole definition of geeks and nerds is kind of helpful. And you are, sorry, we've just seen a comment again from Lydia. When there's usually a comment, it's because Becca and I are busy reading the comments coming up going, so thank you, Lydia. Yes, you were on the ball, especially on the Discord earlier as well, for sharing, so that Joy could join us. So when it comes to kind of putting the faith into geekery, I think the place where I want to start off, and I think I've been vocal about this before, is that for me, geekiness is a place where I can be and I can dwell and I can reflect. And usually it is stuff I'm thinking about, more crafty things. I'm more technically minded. And so there's moments where I am. So earlier on, we mentioned Switch already. I was actually fixing a Joy-Con for the Switch. So there's a drift on one of the joysticks that my son's Switch has. So I ordered the parts from Amazon. Other places are available, and basically I took the Joy-Con apart and kind of dissected it, and I'll show a picture of it later. And there was just a moment of tranquility of being with something I understood, and it being a complex thing, and yet I just needed to carve out time to focus and be still and physically be still, or otherwise I won't be able to get the little ribbon in the right slot and all that kind of stuff. And I was just kind of delighting, and then to finish it and then slotting it in and making sure it plays, there was that real joy and sense of kind of success that it actually this has been a Joy-Con that has been broken for at least 6 months, and if not longer, and yet we've been lumbering on with it, and just to kind of resolve that issue and to fix it has just been quite an exercise, and challenging myself because I'd never done it before. Yeah, I have done Mega Drive consoles and PlayStation remotes and all that kind of controllers before. So it was just an opportunity. But in that stillness, there's that moment. Likewise, again, with painting miniatures and things, that there's this stillness of just being and pausing and being able to just be. And I think there's something triggered in that kind of creativity. And yeah, being able to make something work or make something from scratch or put your own little twist on it, that kind of enables me just to kind of feel a bit deeper with the universe, deeper with God, or however you want to explain it. And I kind of, yeah, it feeds me in not just like a, I was about to say dopamine. It feeds me kind of in my being, in my soul, and I kind of enjoy that. And I think for me, I mean, there is some geekiness that is just kind of delving into community and feeds my social side, but there is also geekiness that feeds my spiritual side, and being able to reflect and create stuff with art as well. I love kind of oil painting and things like that, and to be able to kind of reflect my faith, put my faith into that as well, is really quite empowering for me and enables me to think about faith in a different way. And I realise I've been talking, lots of people have been commenting.
You're talking, but I want to probe you, Mark, in a non Star Trek sci-fi way. So if anybody listening to that, and listening without any understanding of what we understand, so we often define geekery, but we don't often define faith. And you said something about connecting with God. What is going on for you when you connect it, either in the stillness, for example, or with your creativity, that helps your relationship with God? And I think, or yeah, I will say God, because that's what I would say. That would be my language. That is what I believe we're doing when we connect with our creativity, and when we connect peacefully with the stillness, and we feel centered. So what is it that you have either a better understanding of in terms of yourself, in terms of God as greater than you, in terms of your place or purpose in the world? How can we be overt in drawing that link between what's going on for you in those moments and what you personally believe about what faith is for you?
I feel that for me, my relationship with God is about a friendship, and it's kind of meeting an old friend over coffee, and that the coffee isn't the main important bit, but it's being in the comfortable and in the presence of a very good friend where you could be open and honest, and you don't have to put up a mask. You can just be yourself, and there isn't a forced social interaction. There is just that being and listening and enjoying, and just, there is nothing forced in it. And that for me kind of echoes what it's like to believe in God and to be comfortable and in God's presence. And once upon a time, I would often find that in church, or I would often find that in church. But there are times when I can find it in other places. Some of those places are quite traditional, as I said, in church, in kind of thin places, as theologians would say, like very spiritual places. But then there are other times when it's almost my peace of mind, or my frame of mind, and therefore just be able to stop and be. And often that would again be on a walk, or seeing something in nature, but then just to be. And sometimes there is kind of cohesive words in my head forming to say, okay, God, here I am, and just this is me. Other times it is just, again, being comfortable with a very good dear friend and not having to force the conversation, and just being comfortable in someone else's presence. I don't think I think there's different ways of which we kind of feel kind of God, or kind of feel kind of a connection. Sometimes it is in that producing and productivity, but other times it can just be as simple as being still and being and letting all those kind of the busyness of the day just be put to one side, and just kind of, I guess I want to sort of say, just to present a bit of time, to purposely give time over. And whilst I might be doing something busying with my fingers, or technically, there is a moment as well where I could just be in the presence. Whereas, that being said, today, trying to fix a computer, it was much more frustrating. And I was saying prayers, but usually in a "Dear Lord, please fix this computer." But I wasn't really feeling God's presence at those moments, even though there was a lot of prayers being said. And I think that was maybe enforced techie stuff, which wasn't as. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that I always find this like, oh yes, my computer has crashed, I'm going to find God in this. Rubbish. I was really stressed. Yes, it's like, oh, this opportunity. Oh, good. I'm going to lose all my work for the last 3 years.
Joy and Lydia, I will come and we will share your comments. If you'll allow me to probe Mark just for another moment or two. If someone was watching this, Mark, who had never been to church, and they were like, what you just described about peace, or that stillness that I find in doing my painting, or when I do a jigsaw, or when I'm sat with knitting, if when I find that peace, but it's just peace, it's not God, it's got no impact on what I believe about myself or the universe. Is there a way in, or do you think it's not necessary? Is there something that you can say about what you believe God is doing? So you've gone into that space and recognize the benefit for you. What do you believe about the nature of God in that space for somebody who might not have any church language at all, that might start to be able to probe the feeling itself? Or I don't know, it's not quite a fully formed question, but
I'll try and run with it if that's all right.
yeah, please do.
I feel that my understanding of God is something that can't be always put in a box. I think we always, or in today's society, we like to compartmentalize. We like to kind of sort of say, well, if we are a Christian, if we do, then we go to church and it's this shaped, and or when we are kind of with our work hats on, we go to work, it's between these times, it's in this place, or in front of this computer, and we have a designated space and a place for, and the way that we kind of present ourselves to friends or to family or to colleagues or to strangers, there are different ways of which we present ourselves. I think for me and my faith, I've kind of explored for a very long time, and I genuinely mean that, from when I was about 7 or 8, exploring who God was to me, that I always saw God as a very polite person who was just stood near me. And I don't have to worry about lofty words. There was somebody that I respected that I could speak to. And over the time, I realized that I could give space to listen, just as any good friendship. You wouldn't just talk. You would you talk and be comfortable in each other's presence, and then kind of give permission to listen. And I think that for me is, I find God primarily in church, and primarily in kind of through the Bible, through Jesus, and that kind of stuff, through knowing who Jesus was and through his teaching. But I don't have to find God in a church service at 10:30 on a Sunday morning. If I've been thinking about God and praying, yeah, but praying in a broader sense of having a conversation with God, rather than, oh Lord thou God, it's not kind of proper old English sort of ways in which it's often caricatured. It's the case of saying, okay God, here I am, this is how I'm feeling, and just getting a sense that there's something else there. And so it doesn't feel as if I'm just rambling to myself. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of times when I'm rambling to myself and I feel as if I am a mad person. But there are times when I just feel as if there's a closeness, even though I might be isolated, or otherwise I might be on my own. Equally, I can also feel very lonely in a crowded town centre sometimes. But there are times when I just feel a closeness to God, to a creator, that I can just be, and I can recognise. And it's like there's a bit of an illustration, isn't it, about a dog knowing its master's voice, which is where HMV comes from, which, for those who don't know, HMV used to be a shop, buy lots of records and all that kind of stuff, CDs, tapes,
They're called
vinyls,
now.
yes,
Yeah.
vinyls, yes. So, but there's the story there about the dog being able to recognise the master's voice on the vinyl, and to be really excited, and it's about kind of trying to tune ourselves into hearing God and being present, and responding to God when we hear their voice. So I don't have a full perfect answer, but I think for me, growing up in a church and kind of been introduced to God and a living relationship with God, for me, I find that it doesn't have to be just put into a box on a Sunday morning. It's something that I can carry with me throughout the day, and it's something that I find calms me, leads me, calls me, I would say. But it doesn't always, it's not like a fairy or like fulfill a wish, or it's not just like something that I can like a magic wand to flick. It does feel for me like a living relationship, and sometimes I can feel like closeness. Sometimes I disagree with God, sometimes I agree with God, and sometimes I don't. And sometimes I've got to then find God elsewhere in conversations or in a church service or somewhere else. Has that answered it vaguely anyway?
Yeah, it does. And I think there's some stuff that I keep reflecting on that I'll come back to, but I want to just bring what Joy and Lydia have been delightfully chatting away. And so Joy agreed that it was about partly about finding your tribe and your place, where you feel you fit in. And Lydia said that she went to a neurodiverse York meet last night and immediately found people to enthuse with about her geekery. And it's another area of her life where she found her tribe, which is so wonderful. Joy said about being fed rather than drained. Mark Harrison, Lydia's husband, just did the quiz and came back as 65. Congratulations, Mark. Good solid 65. And Joy said that it's about being able to remove the mask, relax and be raw, vulnerable and yourself. And I think there's something about all of the different things that we engage with in a geeky way that I see so much of. Mark and I are both Methodists, if you're watching and you don't know, which is a denomination of the Protestant Christian Church. And Methodists were called Methodists for a reason, because they were so methodical, that there were certain practices and rules and patterns of being that allowed them into a space in order to experience something greater than themselves. Some of that comes with liturgy, so the language that we use to describe what we believe in, but also that helped to develop an attitude that helped us approach our faith, that helped us sit in a space. We believe in a God who is invisible. You can't literally go round and call up God and say, can we go out for a cup of coffee, like I might do for Mark? Can we meet up in person and have a cup of coffee and talk through some stuff? That would be great if I could Zoom with God. It would make some things easier and some questions I have much clearer. And so there's a lot of things that we do that help us access that feeling of peace, of love. And I hope that is the feeling that people feel when they're with God. But that also help us adjust. And it's a lovely phrase that we used a lot when we went to Uganda, was this idea of posture, of how you hold yourself in a space that creates discipline and pattern and rules. And you think all of the different things that we really enjoy, there are rules for every universe. There's a rule for the superhero universe. There are rules for science fiction universes. There's rules for D&D. There's rules for tabletop games. There's rules for Trivial Pursuits. It doesn't limit us in who we are. It says, come into this space. This is the framework in which you are. It's like when you are going to someone's home, you're in there because you've walked through the threshold and you're now inside the walls of their home. So what Geekery does, and what the practice of Methodism does within the Christian tradition, is give us some framework and some rules. But for me, one of the most important things, and for those that haven't heard of this or aren't Methodist, we've got something called the Methodist way of life, which aren't they're not rules in the sense that if we don't do them, we're going to get told off and we're not allowed to be a Methodist anymore. We get kicked out of the game. They're things that people find to be consistently helpful, that either allow you into the space with God and feel all of that peacefulness, or that help you express the emotions that well up towards God or other human beings, that then look like helping them, that look like protecting the environment, that look like engaging meaningfully in social justice. But one of the most important things, the first statement before you even get to all the things that you need to do, is the statement that God loves you unconditionally, no strings attached. That is the central message of any Christian church. God loves you. And we can't do anything. There aren't any more rules that we can add. There isn't any more. We can't be any more geeky about our faith that will make God love us more. But what we can do is practice our posture and our attitude and the way we come into it, with some methodicalness. And it's that, you can see it as soon as my hands start moving, that there's something passionate and exciting about what's going on. And I am not the most Methodist geek that I know, but there is something about being intentional in how we practice things, being intentional, but the fact that we hold that space, and the story that overrides all of it is that we are loved by God unconditionally. No rules or practices or postures that we take on will change the place that we're going to find when we're fixing the switch, or when we're sitting with crochet needles, or when we're carving a lino cut. Nothing we do will make that space bigger or better. All of the things we practice allow us into the space in order to experience it. You can't go on a fantasy role play adventure unless you've turned up to the table to sit at it and counted the games. You can't until you intentionally turn towards it. Then you can't experience it unless because that's the nature of free will.
Can I just say very briefly about, so I got carried away reading Stephen's thing about being a nerd, and it identifies as nerd through Myers-Briggs test, and about being, I think, introvert and otherwise. And so that's quite kind of cool. It's got a whole comment and carries on. We can't share all of it up on the screen because it's too long, but it does make a lot of sense, and that's really cool. I think I would say is that when some people hear Christians as well, they think about judging, and they think like people kind of got like a finger to point and poke at people and kind of go, oh yes, do better.
Like actually, they do it, Geeks and Nerds.
Oh, and this is it. And this is what I was going to say, is that actually there's something here about grace, and in the communities that we're involved in, the best kind of communities are the ones that are inclusive and open, and kind of that are just celebrate that you come to the table, like with the D&D game sort of thing.
If you want to identify as faith and geekery person, you're a faith and geekery person, as long as you don't say, because you don't like my science fiction universe, you can't come into my science fiction universe.
And so kind of we're open, we're welcome here, and we hope that you kind of can join us, and we want to be able to enjoy your geekery as much as you can enjoy our geekery. And I hope we've kind of explored a little bit of
passion for geeky nerdiness.
And we're not going to force it down your throat, because we're not going to force our geekery down your throat either.
No.
And I think
but we will get passionate about it.
We will get passionate. Absolutely. And we're going to talk about it, because obviously we're geeks rather than nerds. Obviously we're streaming and podcasting, and it would be really weird if we didn't talk about it.
It would be a really rubbish podcast. Tumbleweed. I saw, right, I'm so excited, but I couldn't bring one home. I saw a real tumbleweed.
Is this when you went to America?
Yeah.
Well done.
Just tumbling around, and then what it did, it tumbled around, and then it met some more tumbleweeds, and they all kind of gathered for this mass tumbleweed party against a fence. It was remarkable.
Very good. Very good.
I think we've got time for Geeky Gallery, haven't we?
I was about to say it's 5-2, and so let's bring up. I'm going to try and bring up.
Flash up with some exclamation marks and a cow emoji.
So the fun of doing this 3 weeks ago and not having time for it last time is that I have no idea what's on these slides, how many slides there are, or otherwise. So Geeky Gallery.
That's what this is.
So we have Mendip doing some figurines, Chaos Marines. He's been kind of doing some base layers and otherwise. Then Specky Geek David. Have we not done this? I've maybe just engaged with it on Discord. So Specky Geek David sharing about the latest kind of games, which is the Star Wars Unlimited game. Lydia is happy now that we've covered it. And then more Mendip, more kind of airbrushing and kind of putting a green base layer down. I mean, must be about 12, 15 there. Trying to count very quickly. So quite a lot of figures. So this is kind of quite a setup. Mendip also sharing about Acid House terrain kits. I feel as if we have shared this. Is this the right one? I'm not sure. Lydia and a sheep. I feel as if we have shared this. I have shared this with people before because we tried to count out whether there are actually 99 there or not. Is that the only one that we've had?
99 sheep there, Lydia?
Or we can go back to it if you like. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
9,900. Oh, hang on. There were 44, Lydia says. There we go.
Okay, so I'm not sure if I have got any other things on there. Let's just see if I can just gather any more. 12. No, that's all of them. Then tonight stuff.
You just made the sound that's at the beginning of one of the Beatles songs. I don't know what that sound is. I'm gonna have to find out.
Is it that? No.
No.
Just my stuff this week and for what I've been sharing, and basically there was an opportunity with my brother-in-law who we just went to go and visit him on Saturday before Easter, and he was like, "Do you want to paint some minis? Because you can do that now." And I was like, "Yeah, I will do." And then I suddenly realised that I'd painted like kind of warrior Jesus, so it was quite cool. It wasn't intentionally Jesus, by the way. It's not actually Jesus, but he's kind of got. I was trying to do a kind of glowing sword and otherwise, but then over Easter with friends, I led a family friend kind of so basically for my kids and for my friends' kids and for the parents, we did a D&D campaign of going to a mystery island where we had owlbears and all kinds of stuff, and I also managed to 3D print some of those things. And there's a little picture down below of the Wii controller, the Joy-Con, in lots of pieces as I was sorting that out. So that is all, and that is everything from the Geeky Gallery. But Lydia is sharing, and feel free, folks, to share what you've been up to. I went on another moo day, but felt that I have already shared enough cow spam. I did see on your profile as on Facebook of the Highland cow that you were patting, which was adorable. Lydia.
And also, Lydia, you cannot share too much cow spam. You think if we put a limit on how many minifigures featured on Geeky Gallery, then there would be some people that were well over their limit, but there is no limit. It's the passion and the excitedness, and please, please, please always share.
Joyce just put, did you have the compulsory bits left over, Mark? I only had a small joystick that I removed was left over. Everything else was part of the plan because I followed instructions and I didn't lose anything. I also take photos. That photo was actually me reminding myself of where it all came from, you see. I always take a photo before you take things to pieces. Always helps. So you can put them back together again.
Do you want to know what the sound was that I thought you said?
Yeah.
It was from, the sound right at the beginning of Come Together Right Now by the Beatles. That noise. You made that. I don't know how you did it. And now I want to know what actually makes it in the recording.
Oh, is it not like a...
So Mark just showed Stephen's comment, which he might not identify as a geek, but can appreciate the craft and the patience that goes into creating the minifigures that Tom had painted. And I think that's exactly it. That is why you are of our tribe, Stephen, is that I don't paint minifigures. I would do, but I know it's a super dangerous. Lydia is now posting lots of pictures of cows. They're just flashing up on my phone. But yeah, it's the attitude of being able to appreciate that exactly brings you into the tribe. And we might not do all the different things, but it's the attitude that we bring and the posture of being in community together. I'm not sure that last one is a cow, Lydia. It looks like a very depressed pig. Just saying. Oh, look at us. We're right on time, Mark.
Absolutely. Just to say, we're not here next week, or I'm definitely not here next week because I've got something else. So we're back in a fortnight's time, and hopefully we'll return to some normality. And otherwise, we have rescheduled. Relatively speaking, we have a couple of guests lined up. Just need to formalise some dates with those, especially James when he's feeling better. I think we're just trying to put a date in the diary now because I think he is feeling better now, as well as Rory as well. And so,
now is it astrology, astronomy, astronomically? What is Rory talking about? Stars and things. Star signs, Aquarius and Cancer. Look forward to that story.
Anyway, thank you for joining us tonight, folks. And just another plug, just to say that if you want to be part of the conversation outside of the broadcast, then you can join our Discord, which is just to kind of download the Discord app, join our server, and there's various chatting channels where you can share things. Also, if you've kind of watched us, but you don't always have time to watch us, that we are putting this out as a podcast too, for those who are interested in that. And just, if you find this helpful, if you want to be able to share it, or like it and all that kind of stuff on all our platforms, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, then please do that, and subscribe to us, like our page, so you can be kept in the loop when we next go live and things like that. So thank you for joining us. I hope it's been a helpful conversation. Thank you for joining us in our chill, reflective time. And yeah, anything else left to say, Becca?
I know, because I got distracted finding the Discord link to post it into chat. But yes, if you want to belong with us, then you belong with us, and we will find ways to be excited about whatever it is that you're excited about, because that's one way in.
Yeah.
And that's how we model the unconditional love. Unconditional.
Well,
amen.
Bless you. See you another time, Becca, and see you folks. And I hope you can geek safe and find your tribe. Bye bye.